Found it on Ginger Reads Laney's YouTube channel. They had a couple of questions here they asked about writing. The first was, do you type out your writing or do you do it handwritten? Since everything that, or most everything I do ends up an ebook or online somehow, I tend to type it out a lot more than I used to. Anything that I handwrite has to go in the computer because I can't read my handwriting anyway. So, but the problem with typing is that it also kind of gave me carpal tunnel, so I tend to go back and forth. But the end result all ends up typed. When you write, do you write in cursive or do you print? If I'm being careful, I print everything so that I can read it. I have really bad handwriting. But when my brain starts running faster than my pen, I'll start writing in cursive. It doesn't mean I can always read it. Sometimes I have to hand it to my husband and say, can you make out what this line says when I go to type it in? So I tend to prefer writing printed if I can. The next question was to show your favorite pens. Well, I don't have any specific pens, but you can see these are mostly Bic pens. I used to write a long time ago in the old black pens, but after a while I noticed that the writing would turn yellow, so I went to blue pens. I guess Bic changed the formula of their ink, and the more recent years I've noticed the black doesn't change color quite so much, so I went back to writing in black. Where do you like to write, they asked. Well, like I said, since everything has to end up going online, I tend to write on my computer in my writing room. It's just a spare room in my house. If my hands hurt too much to type, I will take a notebook and sit in the living room and write. Okay, the next question was, who are your five favorite authors in terms of their authorial style? This could get very long, so just shorthand. I have to say Michael Moorcock, because of the way he kind of bucked traditions and fantasy. He tends to put a lot more gritty stuff into the sword and sorcery than people did back then. Also Virginia Woolf, because of her strange style. If you haven't read her, then you should. If you have read her, then you know what I mean. It's unfortunate that we don't have the freedom to write like that anymore as artists these days. But on the other hand, we want readers to understand what we're talking about. So, you know, 6 of one, half dozen of the other. Which way do you want to go? I would like to be able to write artistically like that, but I don't foresee it happening anytime soon. So if you're one of my readers and you're wondering about that, don't worry, I'm not going to get weird. Or my writing's not going to get weird. What are your 3 favorite books on writing, was the next question. Right now, some of my favorite books are books about editing more than anything. I have, top of my list for the last couple of years has been Self-Editing for Fiction Writers by Rennie Brown and Dave King. If you don't have this book, you should get it because it's very good, and it will help you do a lot of the editing that maybe the editor you're going to pay needs to do, but would probably do if you didn't do this first. Also, there's a set of books by 2 authors named Angela Ackerman and Becca Puglisi, The Positive Trait Thesaurus, and also I have The Negative Trait Thesaurus. That always helps for building characters. There are several others that I like. Techniques of the Selling Writer by Dwight Swain. It's been a long time since I've looked at that book, but there's a lot of different ways to build your characters and build your worlds and what needs to go in your different scenes. If you haven't checked it out, you should. It's a really good book. I'm giving you a shorthand on what the book is about, so just go to Amazon and check it out. The next question was, have you ever competed in NaNoWriMo? My answer to that is yes. Have you ever won NaNoWriMo? Yes, actually I did. In 2000, I want to say 14. Yeah, 2014, I was working on what's going to become the next Caitlin Artist Inheritance book. And that particular one, I finished at 51,000 words by the end of the month. Last year, I worked on, not last year, but the year before, I worked on the follow-up to Druid Warrior's Heart here. Didn't quite win. I got really close. It was like 41,000, 42,000 words. That has since been finished, and it's starting to go through revisions, and I should have it to my editor sometime within the next 3 months or so. So book 3 in the Celtic Steward Chronicles is coming, y'all. I'm working on it. Okay, next question. What projects are you working on right now? I am working on, like I said, the follow-up to Druid Warrior's Heart, and I'm almost done and ready to send that to my editor. I'm also working on a book called Lady of the Tarot, which has just gone to my editor, and I should have that out within the next month or 2 months, I'm hoping, no later than 2 months. Other than that, I'm just starting a few projects. The next question is, have you ever had anything published? Yes, obviously. I have about 6 books up on Amazon. If you want to check them out, you can look me up there, or you can check out my website at Juli D Revezzo, REVEZZO.com. I'll put the link in my description. The next question was, what is your soundtrack to writing? Well, it just depends on the book. Sometimes I'll listen to different genres depending on what the book is about. The stuff that I'm writing in the 15th century, the 16th century, the 17th century, a lot of that doesn't really have a specific genre that goes with it. But for instance, with the last couple of months, I've been listening to a lot of Shovels and Rope. And that kind of ties into my Antique Magic series, specifically Caitlin and Trevor. One of their songs called The Keeper is actually sort of their theme song. So it just depends on the book, really. Sometimes it doesn't have a soundtrack. It'll just, I don't know, depend on the characters or what I'm doing at the time. I don't tend to like to listen to a lot of music when I'm editing. But every once in a while when I'm writing, I'll put something on. Passion's Sacred Dance, which was the preceding book to Druid Warrior's Heart, I was listening to Heart at the time, their first album, Dreamboat Annie. So anyway, you can just see how that all works. Sometimes I have music, sometimes I don't. It just depends. That kind of goes into the do you have a writing pump-up song? Not really. Usually I get up first thing in the morning and I have an idea in my head and I need to get that down before I do anything else. So I don't tend to put music on at those times. It just depends on the day and how I'm feeling. Okay, hopefully this is shorter than it was last time, and I hope you've enjoyed this look into my work. And if you want to check any of it out, check out my website at, like I said, www.julidrevezzo.com. And have a good night.